Hi, Suzette. How are you?
Hi, Bev. How are you? I'm fine.
Good, thanks. An interesting thing came up with me with a couple this week when it came to speaking about negotiation. Negotiation for me is a recontracting, is a revisiting something that worked for us at the start of our relationship that needs to be revisited again now because maybe it doesn't work for me. So in some cases it could be, I know you and I've experienced different religious standings. I know when my husband and I got married, we were more on the same page. I've shifted, so that's been a renegotiation. And this couple was speaking more about whether to go towards an open marriage. That wasn't contracted at the beginning. They were going to be 100% monogamous. But what came up was the shock that you could really, that we can manage our differences really by renegotiating them and saying what will work for you now, what will work for me now, without losing everything. We could decide doesn't going to work anymore. We could lose everything. But it really is something that is kind of shows how the relationship is dynamic. How do you see negotiation in your practice?
Oh, I love that. I love that because I think you can do like kind of those big renegotiations of like things have changed and we need to renegotiate. And there's also just day-to-day negotiations of, well, I can't do that right now, but what about tomorrow? Or I can't talk for an hour, but let's talk for 10 minutes. Like, I think I love what you're saying, because when I was thinking about negotiation, I was thinking about all kind of just the little day-to-day negotiations. And I love bringing in the kind of bigger, like we need to renegotiate because we've changed a little bit. Our circumstances have changed. Things are different. And how do we negotiate that in a way that works for both of us? So I love that. I could talk about negotiation for hours. It's one of my favorite topics. So I love that you brought it up about how it helps us to manage our differences when we're negotiating.
Right. And I appreciate the fact that you brought it up that it is something we need to do often minute to minute. Could you do this? No, not right now. That is the fact that a relationship is happening in good present time. Does this work for me? Does this work for you?
Yeah, I love that. And I know that Terry Real talks about how negotiation is an antidote to someone who is more withdrawn, who is kind of walled off, who is a distancer. So this is a really important thing because people withdraw out of protection. That's a protective strategy. So negotiation is kind of like a safety valve or like some sort of safety mechanism where instead of needing to withdraw because I just assume that my needs won't be met or that the other person is going to kind of like take too much from me. It's a way of like, okay, well, I can't give all. I don't want to give everything, or I don't want to like be too vulnerable, but I can do a little bit. I can do something. So it's kind of getting you out of that black and white of like, I either have to shut down or I have to be like all in, which can be too frightening to somebody who feels like they kind of need to protect themselves more. It's kind of that little safety measure of, well, I can give this much. I can do this. So at least it keeps things kind of moving a little bit more.
Right. And I love that. Sorry. I love the fact that you remind that it's the antidote to people who are what we call love avoidant, what Terry describes as love avoidant. They don't want to come to the table. It's too scary. It's too threatening. Mm-hmm. And then the other side, for those of us who are more afraid of getting into the negotiation, for your partner who's offering the negotiation, can you then receive the little bit that you might get? You're not necessarily, as you say, going to get it all. Certainly not now. And you can be sad about that. But can you celebrate the glass 15% full and receive what your partner is giving you?
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's why negotiation is a skill that is lacking in a lot of couples because it takes so much maturity to be able to tolerate that disappointment of I'm not getting everything, but I'm just getting it. If I can get a little bit, I can work with that, and being able to accept that with a generous, responsive heart.
Right. And I think the last point I wanted to just make was that is being in relationship. we do have to negotiate because we don't live in caves. We've come out of the cave, come into the marketplace, gotten into a relationship, and we didn't marry ourselves. So we definitely have to renegotiate the terms as we
Yes.
go along.
I
This
love
is
that.
great. Thank you.
Thank you, Bev.